Hello and welcome to your May 2020 general reading. This is BinaryStarTarot and thank you for being here. So I'm going to take a minute and do a brief background on the reading for today. And if you don't care to listen to that, please check out the timestamp below and you can zoom forward to that point. Without further ado, here we go. Be the key. Be the key. The key that you see in the images can mean three different things. The first one is a key that you press or push down on to make a musical note on a piano. The second is a key that unlocks a door. And the third is a piece of wood or metal that's used to hold, for instance, two slabs of wood together. Very interesting, the word key. So I thought, okay, this is going to be the theme for today's reading. There's almost a limitless number of possibilities of what can work as a key, right? So let's get right into the reading. I'm going to shuffle the cards for a moment. I'm going to be silent while I'm doing it. And hold tight. I'll be right back with you. And do the cut. Ready to go. So, Four of Swords. The Sun. Queen of Cups. Knight of Wands. Queen of Coins. The Emperor. Ace of Pentacles. Eight of Cups. Two of Cups. Five of Pentacles. So, top line, the Divine Feminine. And it looks like she is all about love, all about feelings, and that's the pathway to success, the pathway to the future, a better something that lies beyond the now. And so she begins with the idea of transitioning to a higher level with a higher purpose. And the Eight of Cups and the number of advancement. So she's interested in moving. And a nice chemistry here, if you will, is that in the center card of her line, she's focusing on the duality, the combination of the yin and yang that leads to perfect balance. And that therein, with all this flourishing, growing part of the middle, that the perfect balance leads to solutions. It's the answer. And that's how she sees it. And that's good. But then she gets to the Five of Pentacles, and even though that is not a blockade by any means, it's cause for a bit of, can this really be true? Can this really work? And what she's got going for her is the same thing that the Divine Masculine has going for him. Because when there are glitches or there are blockades or obstacles in one line, it's fair game to go vertically and diagonally and find solutions with these combinations. I mean, it doubles instantaneously the amount of possibilities for finding solutions. So let's get to that after we deal with the Divine Masculine line. And he is looking at his queen as his rock, his anchor. And what better way to find a key than when you're feeling stabilized and you're feeling solid? And especially since he's contacting the Emperor part of his soul. The Emperor, the king of all the kings, meaning the head honcho, the one who, with Aries behind him and the god of war, kind of a focus on his core. He's really solid in his core. He's looking at, hey, I don't do this alone. I've got her. And boom, out of that, perhaps conceptual foundation comes a new beginning, comes an Ace of Pentacles. And now we can talk about vertically, because this is all sugar and spice and everything nice, right? And that's good. That's wanted in a partnership. This, if it's perceived as a blockade of some sort or some kind of a tripping point, then this can turn it from a tripping point into a tipping point to remind, from the standpoint of observing the Ace of Pentacles, observe also that that is what to keep in mind when we get to any kind of an obstacle, any kind of a challenge, that it's not the end of the world, and it does absolutely nothing to diminish the wonderful attributes of the Eight of Cups and the Two of Cups. So moving to this line, and we have the situation, Four of Swords. A time to consider carefully what kind of key we want to be. Do we want to be the kind of key that strikes a musical note That's fine. That works, especially if you're an artist or a musician. Your creativity soars when given options like that, to consider that. You mean that the key to the solution here is through my music or through my painting? Excellent. The challenge is to remember that the sun is shining on this. That as with this challenge, there is an answer. And in this case, since it was a vertical movement that got a flushing of the flow so that it could continue with all what was over here on the left. As we work out into the putting it into action, perhaps it's a vertical solution here that, albeit that this might be a challenge, to keep the sun in mind. In fact, by bringing the whole team, the duality together, and play, with the center point, the center being such a column of strength here, the Two of Cups with the Emperor, to just open that doorway, and this is what shines in. Open this doorway, the sun shines in. And the strength, the Queen of Cups is one of my favorite cards. It's because she's so grounded in her water. It's almost like, for her, the water is the ground. And I also enjoy very much the perhaps hermetically sealed chamber, which is within a hermetically sealed chamber in alchemy. That's where the transmutation of materials takes place, so that true magic can happen, i.e., the old story about turning lead into gold. And if the components of that kind of emotion and that kind of love, let's say, are in here, then you can be any key. You can be a key that unlocks a door. You can be a key that sounds a musical note. You can be a key that holds things together. And that's what you've got in this reading for your asset. And the actions that you can take, nothing wrong with the Knight of Wands. In fact, I have a lot of fire in my chart, and I like my fire. And I find that sometimes, even though it must be kept harnessed, if you will, and not to just become a wildfire out of control, that doing that is pretty simple given what's to be gained by it. So I find it interesting that the Knight of Wands, in the actions to take position, is, although he's looking towards the active side of the card here, and he's looking at his wand and ready to rock, that he's not, the horse is facing here. I think that perhaps that is a signal for every other component here, and maybe all of this, he's waiting. He's waiting to move, because when he moves, it's fiery. But I think that he wants to have everyone ready to go with, ready to have made their own decisions that taking action on all that's to be gained is worth it. So, if I were to do a short recap, I would say that this is a gentle reading. It's not aggressive or gritty. When there are challenges, they seem to be minor ones. They're not brutal or extreme. And yet, challenges are challenges. And maybe it's time to, because of the gentility here, maybe it's time to have the idea of how can we be the key, move into the higher realms, which the Eight of Cups is always about walking into higher ground, more advanced territory. And maybe considering that being your baseline is going to get a lot more benevolence and a lot more artistry engaged in the operation. So if this resonates with you and you have the will or see your way clear to putting it into action, to weaving together the energies in this kind of a fashion with the idea of being the key of some sort, then perhaps the month of May is going to be the time when you can do that. And if it is you, I hope it goes well. And I wish you well. And I thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.